What? No theme music, nah?
Gusto, now Chris the host. Man, I make a little dinner while busting jokes. Come to the yard, get it off your chest. There's no hard feelings when you're rocking with the best. Everything's crisp, everything's nice. Throw a little sugar, add a little spice. Ask all questions, cook a little rice. Gamble like Vegas and throw a little dice. Raise a glass and make a toast. Drop by Chris for a Sunday roast. Or a taste of his mixology. Get twisted and not off the Hennessy. Now your belly's full, play a game of ball. Gusto, he's coming from the old school. No if buts, maybes, whys. No silly questions, I tell no lies.
Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris.
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for joining me on this WBBL roundtable. Hope you're all well. If you all want to introduce yourselves, starting with Miss Naylor in the corner.
Hi, I'm Naylor. I play for Sheffield Hatters.
Nice. Miss Clark, Tiani.
I was about to. It's Toyani, actually.
Hayani, sorry.
Mm-hmm. And I'm from Seven Oaks Suns.
All right, nice. And Miss Ella.
Ella's
Ella throws again. You're okay, Ella. All right, we'll come back to Ella. Siobhan.
Yeah, I'm Siobhan Pryor from Nottingham Wildcats.
Nice. Nicolette.
I am Nicolette Fungliogri from Durham Palatinates.
Oh, no. How you pronounce that? Palatinate?
I never knew that, Nick.
I didn't. The purple ones.
I was like,
Boy, I just saw that purple team. Yeah, Durham, that's
I
it.
still don't know how to spell it.
Durham.
that
And
works.
then last but not least, Naomi.
I'm Naomi Campbell from Sheffield Hatters.
Sheffield Hatters, yeah. And Ella Clark's coming in again.
Nelly Wi-Fi.
You okay, Ella?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
Two screens. Yeah. You want to reintroduce yourself again when you're ready?
Hi, I'm Ella, and I've got really bad internet, and I'm from Leicester Riders.
Woo! All right, lady, getting into basketball. What was it, all your journeys like? So we'll start off with anyone who wants to go first. Any volunteers?
I mean, I'll go. I mean, I was around basketball since I was pretty much born, because all my family played it, so kind of in the blood, I guess, / not forced into it, but it was tunnel vision for a little bit.
Cool. Priya, what about your journey? Yours is very interesting.
Mine, I was the same. I was forced into it too. No, I used to do a bit of dancing, bit of Irish dancing, bit of river dance.
Did we get a demo?
No, mate, not anymore.
She can do it.
What?
I said I can confirm you can do it.
Yeah. Hopefully no one's got any videos. No, but yeah, with the whole wig, the curly wig, it was an interesting time. But yeah, then I'd been around basketball my whole life, but probably about maybe, what was it, Helen, like 12 and 13 in that England team, maybe, with Ian.
Yeah, but I think we were like 10 or 11 when we first met. And our parents were like, "You're going to play together?" And we were like, "Okay, you don't have a choice."
Yeah, so maybe that's when I started taking it more serious then, like 10, 11.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Tiani or Tayani?
Yanni, very simple. I think we're gonna have some problems here, Chris, because you starting off on the wrong foot already.
I apologize.
Thank you. That's okay. Yeah, I was really young, probably about 5. when I first started, and around that time I was like the only girl. I had a lot of boy cousins, so I literally would play everything with them. They would just rough me up. So that's kind of how I learned to play. And then, yeah.
Okay, all right. That's how you tough there, because you had that male dog.
Yeah, they didn't take it easy on me. So that's where it started.
Go with Naila.
Same as Ella and Siobhan, I was forced into playing because my mum and dad both played, and my older sister. So from being born, but obviously, like Siobhan said, started taking it seriously maybe around 9, 10, 11. And then, yeah, rest is history.
Nicolette.
I actually started out playing football. That was what I wanted to do. And then I got picked to go to a basketball tournament. I never played basketball in my life. This was at the age of 13, I think, year 8. That's correct. And then I went there. I didn't think I was any good, but I got picked to go to a tournament with Manchester Mystics. And from there, I just quit football, and basketball was just the rest of the career.
All right, nice. And Naomi.
So I started, I think I actually got into it when I was like 12, 13. Before that, I was a gymnast by trade, and then the growth spurt hit. So anyone who's seen my physique now knows that it's not cut out for gymnastics. So it was literally after gymnastics practice one day, there's a poster up for some half-term basketball camp, and my mum did anything to get me out of the house. So I went along to one of those, started playing with, it was actually the Derbyshire Arrows at the time, like the boys team. Oh, yeah. And then from there, I'd been playing with the guys team and played in a tournament against Hatters and got introduced to Betty, and the rest was history from there.
Question I'd like to know is, when did you lot all get to that point in your life when you started to realize how good you were and that you could play at that level? What time? When was that moment you realized, I'm getting actually good at this, and you realize there's certain people that can guard you? Period. Let's just be honest here. Some of you at that level, all of you at that level, basically. So there was a time when you thought someone was guarding you, and you just thought, I'm actually nice. This person can't guard me.
I don't think I ever think that.
Yeah, me It's probably when Nicolette tried to guard me, and I was like, yeah, I'm like, nice. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I don't know. Growing up in the States, it was hard. Like, your coaches kept you humble. Yeah. So even if you were, I've been on teams where I've been the best player, a lot of teams, but they still kept you humble. You were going against someone else, playing against someone else that was really good on another team. So I don't know. I don't know.
Not necessarily, they can't guard me, but you just realize that, I can actually play at a high level.
Probably after college, or maybe like my senior year when it was more like I wanted to play. So I knew I had to put in the work, not necessarily I'm good enough. I think I struggled at that point with confidence too. So it was kind of like, I know I could put in the work. I know I'll work hard. And then if something come of it, then I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Say it again?
Yeah. Anyone else?
I think I didn't necessarily know, like T was saying, that I was good, but I think I knew I was going to do it as more than just a little pastime hobby. Probably like under 16s, we had like close rivalry with Nottingham Wildcats, which included Hannah Shaw, who none of us could guard because she was that high when she was like 14. So we had some really good games, and I remember one of those games where we actually beat them was like a big deal. And I personally had actually played quite well, and that was kind of the first time I'd always started a bit later than everyone else I'd played with. So that was for me when I thought, this isn't just going to be a short-term thing. I'm probably going to play basketball for a while. But that was probably it for me. All
right. Seeing as we mentioned Nottingham Wildcats, Siobhan, when did you come to that? Was it when you beat your mum 1-1? When you beat your mum 1-1, you realised you could play?
I mean, that very rarely happened, if I'm being honest. She was always like super quick, and it's not my strong point. But I think, like, for me, I don't know. I've always been just more competitive than maybe thinking like I've always struggled with like self-confidence, I think, but I sort of made up for it by just being like uber competitive and like, yeah, just like one of those people where you really don't really want them on your team, but like you want them on your team, but you don't really want them on the other team because I'm just not going to get along with you on court if you're not on my team.
I love how we all keep quiet.
Facts.
Yeah, so like I think for me it's just more, it was more like just being competitive, but then I guess the big like change for me probably didn't come until like super late, because I felt like I was always just doing it because I'd always done it, and it was always something that I should do because that's what I've always done. It sounds silly, but I'd probably say it wasn't till I was maybe like back from college, probably like 24, 25, that I actually started to really just feel like I was just enjoying it for what it was. And that's probably like the turning point for me, where I was like, yeah, I'm actually just enjoying this and I'm not letting anything else kind of like get in the way.
Okay. Nicolette?
I've never got to a point where I've just thought I'm better than anybody else, or like, you know, I'm another person that has struggled with self-confidence. I still actually do, but for me, you know, I just love playing basketball, and basketball has gave me so many things over the years that I didn't expect, and that's what it is. Like I really, there's nothing more to it, you know. It's just I'm fortunate to achieve all the stuff that I have already. Never thought I would, and I'm just blessed, to be honest, and that's all I have to say about it.
That's very humble coming from you when I see you kill people at Leeds all the time. About I didn't think like that. Killing people at Leeds, you know, and then acting like that never happened.
Yeah, none of our team wanted to guard her. Everyone was like, shotgun no.
Yeah, especially she was like from one end to the other. I was like, rotted. She's like quick.
Yeah, that's what I have.
What about you, Nada? Because I've heard, because you was at Leeds a year before I came there, and then I heard you was giving people problems. What about you when you did that realization?
Well, I don't think I had that realization, same as everybody else. But I think when I realized that I wanted to play for a long time and be serious about things and progress through like the England teams, age group teams and stuff, I think was when I was 12 and I was picked to play for, I think it was the 4 countries that we used to play in, wasn't it? England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. And I played with the England under 16s as like my first like England tournament, I guess. And that's when like I knew that I wanted to like try and play for a long time and progress through the different leagues and stages and England teams and things like that. So
okay, and Miss Ella.
I'm probably the same. Like, I never really got to that point of thinking that. I don't know if Siobhan or anyone else can attest to this, but having your parents involved in pretty much your whole basketball career, like pros and cons in the fact of you get opportunities, but then you're not necessarily sure whether you're only getting opportunities because your parents are there, and you sometimes get the backlash of people thinking that. So it's like, even though you probably have earned the opportunities, you never really think that because you've got your parents always there being like, oh, she's only there because her parents are involved in basketball. But so I never really thought, like, from that reason, I probably never really thought that some of the stuff I've necessarily earned was because I was good enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that. I can relate to that. Same with my brother. So really, my brother kind of paved the way for me. So I kind of understand where Siobhan and Ella's coming from. So,
but you did earn all of that, just so you know.
The question I will ask, I'll start with Nada. The biggest influences that got you into that, you know, that helped you become the player you are.
I think probably my mum and my sister. My older sister played basketball, so we had like at our old house like a little mini basketball court outside. So we would just go against each other outside, and first one to come in crying was the loser. And then I think in terms of coaches, probably Ian Day and Vanessa, obviously, who coaches us now. are two of the biggest influencers. So yeah, mum, sister, Ian and Vanessa probably.
Were there any other famous players you kind of looked up to as well? Any famous women players or basketball or men players?
No, not really. I mean, there was like older players in the league and things like that when I started playing that I looked up to, but I didn't really. I think when I was like playing, like we couldn't really watch the WNBA and things like that on TV. It wasn't as accessible as it is now. So I didn't really used to watch a lot of that. Like I knew about some of the players and like some of the older players like Andrea Congreves played in the WNBA. And when they came home and played for England and things like that, but you couldn't watch it on TV like you can now.
Okay. What about let's go to Nicolette.
Probably for me, my first coach, Sergio, he used to coach at Mystics. You know, he helped me really love the game. He always had extra time for me. Even to this day, he still messages me, sees how I'm doing. So probably him, definitely my first one. And then my second one would be Rahana. I don't even know her surname. Rian. I don't know if you remember her surname.
I think it's Khalil. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I was at the gym shooting after school, she's probably one of the only people that came up to me to correct what I was doing when I was younger. You know, coming to watch some of the games, and then I watched her as she played on the senior team, and she was always supportive. And then I was fortunate to get to play with her at Leeds and live with her, which was hilarious, as Rian knows. But they're probably the two people. When I started playing basketball, I watched Kobe Bryant a lot. Tried a lot of things that, you know, he did that I cannot. But, you know, he was exciting to watch, and he also added to the love of the game that I have as well. Yeah.
Who else is gonna volunteer? Say Siobhan.
Yeah, I'd say like obviously like mum and dad, because they have really just been there like throughout everything. And I'd say like the person, it's interesting because I've had like the least amount of time with them, but has made the biggest impact on just me enjoying basketball, is probably Chema. So I was with like the GB team for like a couple of years with Chema, and I think he really just changed my mindset on like my mindset's still a little bit like this, but like before was like, if I'm going to be competitive, I can't like you, no matter you're my teammate in practice, no matter you're my person opposite me. And that was how I motivated myself to play against people. And then I think just being part of that like team, and also like under him, but I think it's definitely a lot to do with the girls that were on the team as well. I think that just really just helped change my mindset. So I just enjoyed like competing, but in a different way. So I'd say like now for me, it's like just a journey of trying to figure out how to stay super competitive, but in that way, in the way that he sort of, I can't even explain it, Nick. It's hard to explain how he is, but like.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he makes you believe that he believes in what you do. And that each of you should believe in each other and trust each other. I think he just brings that family ethos, and you know, and if you don't fit in with that, it's very obvious. So I think it's like that. It's everyone trusting each other, even if it's from you play 40 minutes to you don't play at all. Everyone's happy for each other, and everyone wants the best.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And I think like for me, that was the first time I'd had like a whole team that just like bought into that. But obviously he's only going to have people there that want to buy into it. So yeah, he's been like a real big influence like later in my career. And then I guess I always looked up to Diana Taurasi. I remember like this one time, one of my coaches came home from the States with Sports Illustrated, and she was on the front. She was like a freshman going into UConn. And up to then, I'd always just like wore a ponytail. Obviously, she has this like slick back hair with a bun. And I was like 16. I like changed all my hair, and I thought it was gonna make me like play like her. I used to like slick it back. Yeah, no, she was like my idol.
I want to see some pictures of that.
I want to see that. You slick the hair back. What about, let's go, Miss the Tatiani Clark.
Todd, just say T, because you're struggling over there.
You know that is what I'm calling you or next season.
Oh my God. First of all, let me just put this out here since we're being recorded. Just say T, because the way English people have butchered my name, my mom's upset. She's really upset, okay? So we're just going to say T because it's been...
Okay, T, yeah, T. I remember that, T. Not Cornell.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a new name too, actually. Nick knows about Cornell, don't you, Nick?
I sure do. But I don't want to, not kidding. Just kidding, not joke.
I'll probably say my mom was the first person who put a ball in my hand. I can remember being just really young, probably like 4, going to the park like after daycare, her picking us up after work. And us just going to the park to pass time and her shooting with me and my brother. When I was younger, I was like, oh my God, my mom can play. But now that I'm older, I'm like, Mom, I know you were just doing that out of love because no. So yeah, she probably was the first person to put a ball in my hand. And then probably when I got to college, I went to a junior college first, but my junior college coach was really good. I love the way he took the game and simplified it. No matter where we came from, we all came from different programs and we're all very good on our team before we came. But when we got to him, he like simplified the game and we played the way he needed us to play. And in return, I learned so much about myself and he really helped my game grow. And then probably since I've been in England, I would say Steve Veer has challenged me the most. I played half a season with Brixton and we weren't very good. Yeah, we weren't very good. We were good on paper, had all the tools, but just couldn't gel. But his preparation and his approach to every game, I haven't seen anything like it. Like, we were getting smacked, and he would still come in with a practice plan, with video, scout. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, it's good. Sorry?
Who's the coach at the time at Brixton? Say.
Steve Veer.
Yeah. No Veer.
Yeah. And like him and I would just do like individual work. Like if I want to get up shots, he was always available and he just challenged me. He like took pride in finding something I couldn't do or I struggled to do. So for me, that was like really good. So yeah. And then I think pro wise, Kobe's my favorite player. And on the women's side, I grew up with the era of like, when the WNBA first came, it was like Cheryl Swoops, like the Houston Comets. So Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper, Tina Thompson. Those are, everyone in high school had like the Cheryl Swoops shoes. So if you didn't have those, we were like, what are you doing? So yeah, that would probably be it.
Okay. Let's go into Naomi.
I think probably my parents. I mean, part of the story earlier I didn't feel was quite on the same level as everyone else, but my dad had coached kind of when he was at university and had played a bit in his past. So when I started to play, he kind of started to push me a little bit when he realised I actually might have been all right at it. So my parents are a big part of it and are still heavily involved. Obviously, Betty and Vanessa, Hatters-wise, all the way through my development, really. The one that was kind of the standout for me is because I'd always played for Hatters. Going to Loughborough was quite a big thing for me. With Matt Harbour, obviously he was kind of coached over in Ipswich. And so he actually spent quite a lot of time with me, like as an individual. Like a lot of my basketball before would always been kind of team. And I'd gone to like university and still didn't know how to do a reverse layup. So like individual workouts and those kind of things, I think I kind of came along quite a bit, having more time to practice. Obviously at university, player wise, not really a celebrity, but when I'd first started playing in Sheffield, again, kind of the Sharks followed by the Arrows. Garnet Gale played for them, and he's the reason I wear number 13. So he was kind of the biggest one, and he's always been kind of in my ear the whole way through, although he's not actually been my head coach at any point. He's been assistant coach in recent years. But yeah, he's one who's loved for the game, IQ for the game. Like, he was still killing leagues when he was like 50, just because he read the game and was so smart. So I think that was a big thing for me, like knowing that there's more to it than just the physical talent.
Yeah, he used to kill that Leeds team. I used to watch them guys suffer there. So
Yeah.
Ella, who's your influence? Is it Mr.
I
Big?
mean, a little bit obvious for me, but definitely my whole family. So obviously, people that don't know, my dad's coached, I don't know how many years, but used to coach the GB women's team. My mum used to play on the GB women's team, and my brother's like got 100 caps for GB currently and still playing. So, and my brother's older than me, so I always had my brother to compete with, / look up to, and then always had my mum and dad like driving me to be better, do different things, play with older people, you know, all that stuff. So they were my biggest drivers within my career. And then after that, I'd probably say my college coaches were probably quite influential in me, because they were probably my main coaches that weren't my parents. I played at Harringay for a little bit with like Dan Bowmaker and Phil, who were my first coaches outside of my parents. But my first, like, I was only doing basketball there, what I'm doing right now. So like my second assistant coach at the time, his name is Jeff, and he's like that person that would do that extra film with you, like Tiana said, like would do those extra workouts with you, always available, like you can come in whenever, like day or night, and he'd come in and do a workout with you, shoot with you, watch film with you, anything like. And he was probably one of the more influential coaches.
Okay. Nice. And Rhiann, baby.
Yo, people who influenced me the most, I would say, like coaching wise, pretty much like pretty much everyone, to be honest, who I came in contact with. My PE teachers, my Birmingham Force coach David Lyon, he had a big influence on me. Then Matt Harbour, I think in the 4 years I was at Loughborough, I came a long way, like not physically and mentally, to be honest, like developed lots of off-court skills. Jeff Jones now, but I think as a player, my biggest influence was Andrea Congreves. I remember like under 16, she came and gave a talk, and I was just like kind of blown away, and what she achieved and stuff. And then she was just really nice as well. So that was a bit of a shock. Yeah, so that's about it really. But no one I knew played basketball really, apart from my friends and my cousins. So like we would watch. Is it like the And One mixtapes?
Oh, yeah.
We used to watch things like that. So that was like my first experience of basketball really. But yes, like my family didn't really play or anything like that. My dad swears to this day that he does, but he still tells me about having 30 seconds on the shot clock. So I know his information is well out of date. Yeah, so just everyone that I came in contact with really, because they all really knew a lot more about basketball than I did when I met them. So I just try and take a bit of goodness from everybody, and then improve really.
Okay. I remember the annual mixtapes. Coaches used to go mad if you came into. So I know some of you guys here, all of you guys here, have had different types of seasons. Like you've had winning seasons, and some of you had losing seasons. So talk us through each of you. Talk us through your experiences when you were underdogs and when you had the target on your back. How was that? Like, how was that season for you guys? How was those seasons for you? So when you had the target on the back and when you were underdogs.
I'll go first.
Well, I feel like we permanently have a target on our back, so.
Tell us why, innit?
Go on, Benny.
Yeah, always. Manchester Mystics. When we first come to Manchester Mystics, we were underdogs because nobody really knew we were underdogs, but we had like a good roster, but no one really knew what we could do. And then we were winning every single game. Boom, got to the cup finals. Underdogs, won. Then we had a target on our back after Christmas. We didn't win a game. We lost everything. So that's pretty much how our season goes. I remember that. Yeah. We were like, why can't we win? What's going on? And then I think I started the league with like 14 players. Then we ended up with like only 7 at the end of the. Oh, it was a madness. But yeah, when a target's on our back, we get killed. Basically.
Oh,
That's all in a nutshell.
oh my gosh. What about what about you? That's what. So, Siobhan,
Yeah.
you've had that experience as well. I know you've been the top dogs and you had the target on your back, and you've been the underdog. What's the perspective from your view in that?
I don't think personally it changes too much. Like, just as an individual, I don't think that changes. I think I still would approach practicing games in the same way. I think one of the things that we definitely, and you can't, it's not tangible, but it's sort of when you do have the target on your back, you also have this sort of air of people aren't that sure if they can beat you. And I think that sometimes helps. So like before you've even sort of stepped on the court, not that as individuals you always believe you can beat anybody, like athletes do, but I sometimes think maybe there's like an underlying thing of, especially if it gets close towards the end, like, can we actually finish this out? Can we beat this team? So I sort of felt like that when we had the target on our backs. I think, like, for me, the biggest thing is because we have, like, well, not the last few years, but had quite a lot of flux with players in and out of the team, like, each year. So we get, like, new people each year. And we always have, like, a few, like, consistent, but for me, I think the hardest thing is trying to get the people coming in to understand, like, the history of the last few years and, like, where people have viewed us and, like, where we've been in the table and what we've won and things like that. And it's trying to get them on board with we lose a game, like, early in the season. And not that anyone's okay with losing, but the ones that have been here and haven't lost are just not okay with that at all. Like, it's not an okay feeling. We don't lose, like, and just trying to get that to go through, that sort of belief to go through the people coming in when they've not had the history of not losing before, I think is, like, that's been, like, the biggest difference for me between the teams that have had the target on the back and then the teams that when we haven't, like, won as many games.
Okay. Ella, what about you? How was that? How was it on both sides?
I mean, from a WBL perspective, like, this is my first year playing in it, and riders, I don't know how they've always been, like, from everyone else's point of view in terms of playing against them, but coming into it, I always thought they'd be the team with the target on their back because they seem to have quite an established program, good players, like, did well the last few seasons, made, like, what, 3P on the trophy. So, like, playing with target on the back this year, but it's a little bit different when you're, like, Hash said, like, when you come in fresh into it, so you don't really take into account all that stuff. So me personally, playing with a target on my back this year, which riders were doing, for me was just playing, like, getting myself back into WBL, but, like, also proving the fact that having a reputation doesn't really mean anything. Like, you never really take a game for granted. Like, you can be playing bottom of the table, but you still want to that's the times when you've got to execute things. So, like, you've got to be polished even when you've got a target on your back against, like, probably the bottom of the table team. So for me personally, I like Siobhan said, I don't think it changes much. Like, you should still play the exact same way, whether you've got a target back or the underdog, because when it comes to the time where the underdog plays, like, they're polished and all that stuff, and you're the team with the target on the back, like, you're just going to lose. So you've always got to play with that kind of level-headedness.
Definitely. I can understand that, definitely. Helen and Naomi, being in Sheffield, because you've been, the times you lot been, you know, the top dogs. How does it feel when the target's on your back and then when you're underdogs?
Go on, Helen.
I think like, when I first went to Sheffield, I think I was 18, so I think I've been there, like, 15 years now. We were just expected to win everything. That was just an expectation that you don't lose a game. Like, that target was always on our back. And I think, you know, that was the case for many years. There was, you know, games that we lost and stuff, but I always felt like there was that expectation that we don't lose at Sheffield, and that's that's just the way it is. And then I think since we've been in the WBBL, that's like changed a little bit, and I think other teams have just got better. I think players have got better, and I think the league's become a lot more balanced. So we have lost more games than like previously maybe I was used to when I first started playing for Sheffield, which whilst it's not a good thing from our perspective in terms of we don't like to lose, it's a good thing in terms of like the league getting stronger and things like that. But I think for the whole time I've played at Sheffield, I've always felt like there's that expectation to win. There's that winning culture across the club in terms of like trophies and past history and things like that. I don't know, Naomi, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the same. Obviously, I had kind of come in a few years after Helen, and they were winning. There was a good core of them who had all kind of been through the England programs, like homegrown talent. And yeah, there was always a couple of imports kind of in the mix, but they won. My first time in basketball was spent going to the finals and watching Hatters lift trophies, kind of thing. So when I started playing for seniors, it, like she was saying, it was kind of expecting. Then the first year, the WBBL was the first year Ness had taken over coaching fully from Betty, and there wasn't the trophy at that point, but we won all 3 competitions, but then it was kind of like after that, the league elevated, and like Helen was saying, for the better, more competitive, more teams were getting imports. Kind of, there wasn't just a top 4; there was always a top 4, and that wasn't always the same or whatever. But it was kind of, the league was very split. You had the top teams, and then that kind of the bottom teams. Whereas now, anyone can pip a game off anyone, like any team. And I remember when we first started losing, it was hard because teams were like celebrating like they won a final in a league game when they beat us. We'd be like, what, like, as a cheering running off court. And like, that was hard because not only have you lost, but like, it's a big deal you've lost. It'd be all over the headlines or whatever on Twitter the next morning. You'd be like, I'm over this, I don't want to see it, kind of thing. But yeah, now I'd like that to like say it's the norm, but in the last few years, I'd like to say it's because I've been injured, but no, I'm joking. Last few years or whatever, there have been games, and it like Siobhan was saying earlier, it's a change of mindset. You go from, you can't just walk on court and think you're going to win a game, which is nice because you actually have to go out and compete for 40 minutes in every game you play. Whereas actually, when I first started playing for Hatters as a junior, I was getting on in games because they were 40 points up. And that's not good for the sport or the game. So I do definitely think you changing your mindset of people know what Hatters are and how we play, and have now the tools and the depth to challenge that. And I think mentally taking losses can be something that takes some adjusting to. Whereas, like T was saying earlier, Brixton kind of went a whole season experiencing that, and having the kind of internal motivation to come in every practice and still want to get better as a team when you're not getting those wins is a different ball game to when you show up and off the back of a good win every week. So yeah, I think it's a mindset thing, but having experienced both, I definitely prefer the winning side.
Of course. What about you, T? Coming from, say, Northumbria, and then you're going to a winning situation with the likes of Suns with Kat and Janice. Talk us through the underdog.
Well, let me rewind. Seven Oaks was not winning. Okay. When I left Northumbria, we had won. So walking into Seven Oaks, I didn't really know what to expect. I knew Kat because we had played at Northumbria together. So I knew, in her, I had a great teammate. Obviously, we're best friends, so that, made it easier. But like Siobhan said, it doesn't really change. For me personally, I spent so much time on the sidelines because of injury. Every game was like, ooh, I could be on the court, so I don't really take it for granted. But obviously going to a new team was different. We were the underdogs. We had most of our team was under 18. So we didn't have anything to lose. We just went to play. And then eventually, I think through midway point, we started to wake some people up, and it started to believe in ourselves even. I think half the battle was getting the younger ones to understand, like, you can actually play, we can actually do something, you know. So when we won a trophy, I think that was our turning point in that season. And then coming back the following year, it was the same. It was like, okay, we had to adapt. We didn't have those young girls graduated, so we didn't know. It was kind of a new team, really. It was me and Kat coming back. And then we kind of got some good pieces in. And that year we had to find our way. And then after that, it's just kind of been the same thing. We approach the game in the same way. Lynn always remind us that we can be beat. You guys probably hear him from the sideline all the time. So he never lets us get comfortable. But just like any other team, you go into the game and sometimes the ball don't go through the basket and you have to gut it out. You know, in our experience, it helps us a lot in those games. And obviously we have the continuity, so throughout players. So I think that gets us over the hump a lot of times too.
Cool. Don't be giving the coach more ice bucket baths now.
Yeah. Well, that came from a win, so that's a good thing that he got the ice bucket.
Nicolette, talk us through being the underdog and having target on your back.
I mean, I'm a junior program with Mystics. We won all the time. So then going into WBBL, I was underdog in every team I played for. I mean, to be fair, the Northumbria team where I played with T and Diana, we were a good team and everybody expected us to do well. In the league, we weren't doing as well as we wanted to. And then, you know, fortunately we won. But I mean, I didn't feel so much a target on my back. I mean, we had T and D who were the leaders of the team. I didn't have to worry about anything. You know, they had everything all together. You know, everybody went to them for advice. If we needed anything, you know, they were the ones that picked everything up. So they were constantly coaching the air along with Chris. And I didn't feel any pressure kind of anything until the finals. And T got injured. And then I had to be the leading point guard. And I'm like, okay, we're playing Nottingham, where we're playing the Ambers and the Melissas, who incredible players. So to win that, and to have T and D in my ear the whole game, even though T wasn't in the game, she was basically. I feel like she played through me. Sorry, you know, and it was amazing to win that. My year in Durham, as most people know, you know, we played with 5 people.
Or when you guys played us twice.
Man, that was horrendous, by the way. So, you know, there is no worries other than trying not to look embarrassing. But you know what, in all fairness, I had fun. You know, I got to do what I want. I got to, you know, I got to have a lot of fun with it, and through that, you know, I learned not to take everything not too seriously, because, you know, the situation was tough. But I mean, any situation I'm in, like, I enjoy it. I work hard. I love playing the top teams. All of you guys, absolutely love playing you guys. You know, it's always a good game, whether we almost win, or lose by 40, 50 points. It's always fun. So yeah, either way, you know, like to play the same way and enjoy it.
All right. Nice. So nothing I want to get into. I know all of you have won something in the WBBL once. Nothing I want to get into. I know all of you have won something in the WBBL once a time in your careers, right? So my question is, whoever wants to start off first, talk us through the most memorable moment of winning the playoffs or the cup trophy or the league, whichever it is. Which is the most memorable moment you can think of, and why was it?
I think for me it was the one that, like T was talking about before, at Northumbria. It was so how, like, Naomi and Helen are talking about, Hatters have always won everything. So I grew up in an era where Wildcats were always playing Sheffield in finals, and like even to the point where Sheffield had beaten us, like my dad was coaching, I think, in the semi-final of the playoffs, and Betty had come up to me at the end And I think she was trying to be nice, but she's like, do you want to be our mascot and run out at Wembley? And I was like, no, my daddy's going to get there one day. I don't need to be your mascot. So like I grew up in that era of like Sheffield. And, you know, for years and years I'd watched Wildcats come second in everything, in the league, in the playoffs. And so that first like win, even though it was like away from home, and it was a bit weird because it was like an away game, so we didn't have anybody there to celebrate with us, but I was like crying, and like it was, yeah, that's the most memorable for me, because it was just sort of like 40 years of being like second best, and then we ended up winning the league. So yeah, wow. That was my most memorable.
Yeah.
Who else had the most memorable moment of winning a trophy in the WBBL? What was the most memorable moment? Background.
Oh, just anyone.
Yeah, anyone who volunteer. Anyone who was a goal.
I mean, mine will take literally like 2 seconds, because I've only been in WBL 1 year and we won one trophy, and it was the trophy like literally like right before Corona. So like all the Premiership and stuff have been cancelled, and there's us trying out to Scotland playing here there. But yeah, we ended up winning, so
it was worth two. I think worth it.
Talk us through that moment.
I have two. Can I have two?
If you want to go, if you want to have two, then if you want to have two, go ahead.
So the first one, I don't remember what year it was. Naomi, you might remember. Do you remember we played, I think it was the playoff final against Nottingham at Worcester? Oh my God, I don't know what year that was.
That year, and we'd like forgot our kit, and we had to warm up in Worcester kit.
Yeah, that year. So that one was memorable just because, for personal reasons, I think just at the end of the season, literally the week of the finals, me and my sister were both playing on the Hatters team, and our dad was diagnosed with cancer, and like 3 days later was the final. So I think that one was like really memorable for me, in terms of like, obviously we went out there to try and win it for him, and then the second one was obviously the one last year where we won like right at the end against Seven Oaks.
Okay.
Two most memorable ones for me.
All right. Where you can dig yourself up a little bit.
Yeah. What about you, T?
Probably our first at Seven Oaks. My first, when we won the league at the O2, just because it wasn't expected. Like walking into the arena, people were like telling us like you got to be Nottingham, you guys got to be better, and we were just like, okay, you know, whatever. I know from me and Cap's perspective was like, yeah, like we're gonna go out and play and we're gonna make it a game. But I think kind of the younger ones were a bit like, because we had I think we lost to you guys maybe. No, we played you in the last game of the season, but Siobhan, you wasn't playing, I remember.
Oh, it's sorry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they were all like, well, Siobhan wasn't playing. We're like, okay, like we still got to go play her, you know what I mean? So I think for us, we were just like, and I don't even think Lynn, you know, he put on a brave face, but I don't know if he actually believed that we would win. So I think it shocked him that, you know, we actually won. For us, I feel like that was probably the year we were like the underdogs and kind of came out of nowhere in the league. So that'd probably be the most memorable one.
What about yourself, Rianne?
Well, we only won one, but it's definitely the most memorable basketball moment for me. I think even if like we went on this year to win the playoff finals or whatever, this would still be my most memorable moment, because we won the cup in Birmingham. I'm from Birmingham. Like my mom's probably watched me play basketball like 3 times. That was her 3rd time. And then like my nephews, they've never really watched me play basketball. So for them to see like that stage and that, you know, like the possibilities that are open in like their life and stuff like that, that just really meant a lot to me. My college coaches, my Birmingham Force coach, they were all there. So for me, it was just like full circle. And I don't think anything's going to top that. We could go to a playoff final in London. It won't have the same feel in Scotland or wherever the trophy final or whatever that was. Just not going to have the same feel. So that was definitely a highlight for me.
Was that the same time when Worcester won as well? Was it this cup final just gone?
No, the Riders won. It was in like, what year are we in now? 2020? 2017, something like that. Yeah. I think it was Glasgow versus Leicester Riders was the game after. It might have been Eagles.
Because Kofi also won one as well, being from Birmingham.
Yeah, he won the last one, yeah.
I kept Birmingham clearing it up, you know. Is that like you got going on now, yeah?
Right, well, I said that was 2017. I ain't had nothing else since. So that's how I was going on.
What about you, Nicolette?
The one that I won, the O2, the playoff finals. Never played anywhere like that in my life. So it was just amazing. And, you know, like Rianne said, like the people around me was hyping it. It was the first time. Like my family, they don't come to watch me play often. So I had like my cousins from London came down. Everybody hyping about it, sharing stuff, watching it on the red button. So the first one, of course, I've not had another one. But it was amazing feeling, and to win the way we did against the team we played under the circumstances. Unbelievable feeling, and it was amazing.
Nice one. And Naomi, did you have one as well? Was yours?
I've probably got two. Another greedy one. My first one was probably.
Wasn't it?
I know, exactly. Indecisiveness. That's what it is. The first one was against. It was actually against Barking, and it was the first year of the Wbbl in the cup. And it wasn't the closest to finals, if I'm completely honest, but it was more for me. That was kind of, I felt like a bit like my breakthrough moment from having obviously always been a Hatter and come through as a junior. I think it was the first time I felt I'd actually really contributed to some of the trophies I'd earned over the years. And kind of that was the transition of me not just being the youngster playing up, but actually a fully affiliated member of the senior team. And then the other one, for a slightly different reason, will have been the cup final last year. Not because my knees were in the greatest of shapes, but it was kind of my comeback season after the first knee surgery. And so my appreciation for the game and all those kind of things, and knowing how hard I'd had to work to get in that position, and then obviously to get to lift the trophy with Helen was kind of a big deal, rather than just being the one going like this.
The game where Helen hit that shot.
Yeah, that one. That BBC viral video.
That was crazy.
Sorry, T.
We kept watching the tape, and it was one of those moments I didn't feel like we played our best, and they played really good, and like everything was going in. And I was like, okay, I know we were supposed to be switching everything, and then Helen was just like, hey, I'm here, pass me the ball so I can shoot. And we went back and watched the tape like, so what happened over here? And we all looking at each other
that wasn't even our play though. That wasn't what we showed up.
I know. I know. I figured it wasn't, because she was like, so I'm like, there's no way that's what they were going for. She was just so wide open, like she had no other choice but to take it.
I remember.
I always watched that play after that where Kat got the shot away, and we were just as clueless in terms of our switches. Two people went with one person. Yeah. Like for her to get that shot away at the end, I always watch that back and I think, what the hell happened there?
It was crazy. It was a good game, but it was crazy. Like afterwards, I think that was the first time that I think I still had my uniform on for some reason. I was doing something and I was out where everyone was, and the amount of kids that came up, and I was like, wow, you guys, and it was like little boys, little girls. I was like, that was a good game. I was like, yeah, you're salty, but you have to be nice. But so yeah, that was cool after that though.
Well, that play written up for I believe was for Sarah or something, right? Because she did say that's what happened, and I think
It was there was like 3 different options. There was like Sarah to come off, Ali to come off down the bottom, and then me for the 3. We have like 3 different options off that play, but I don't think we've ever run it right at the time that we need to run it right. But we confused them somehow.
Exactly. I think the fact that it looked like you guys had no idea helped.
No, we were supposed to be switching, but for some reason, one of my teammates were like in the lane. I don't know if it was supposed to be help. Nobody was there, but she was just in the lane. And then as the ball was in Helen's hand, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this is me." I'm like, "Yeah, well, you're a little late."
It was almost an and one. She hit a little bit harder. It was definitely an and one.
Yeah, exactly. She was so late. But
the best part of that shot for me was the commentator when Helen took the shot. Helen Naylor! Helen Naylor! I was like, damn, boy. That was dope, man. Helen Naylor! I was like, yeah, all right, calm down, mate.
It was the fact we all went to celebrate, like there wasn't still time on the clock as well. We were like, oh wait.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah, because like I just remember like Helen scoring, and then she sort of like turned around and was like, with like her hands in the air like this. That's like all I remember, and I'm thinking, play defense. Like, you've got.
Also, Siobhan, you was really cheering for them, is what you're saying.
I was
Get it? Was it right?
Neutral.
Oh, you're
Quite impartial.
I do remember that Helen, Sarah said when you hit the shot, everyone started celebrating, and you went. Sarah said, Helen was like, "Get back on defense. What are you doing? Stop messing back."
Yeah,
Everybody was like running towards me, and I was like, no, there's still time. Go back. And you can see me like going like this, and everyone's like, woo!
We all even froze. I think Len was like with his hands on his hip, like watching it, and then he was like, "Yeah, timeout." And I'm like, Len, I'm admiring the shot. We need to draw up something on the other end. It was so funny. We always tease him like, "Len, what was you doing?" He was like, "Oh man, it was a good shot." I'm like, "Yeah, but we need one on the other end." That was funny.
That was a big shot. And what about go for another moment as well, where I was watching some of the highlights of the Leicester and Durham Cup finals. Ella and Nicolette, talk us through some of those moments, because
trophy.
Pardon?
The trophy one just got.
I saw what's the name going off? That Sarah. I can't say a second name. I'm not butchering all my names now today. I'm just saying Sarah.
I'm not going to try and butcher a name either, but yeah.
And then,
girl from Iceland.
And then Durham had Betsy going nuts with the shots.
Betsy's on a different level. Like, one of our scout things was like, do not let Betsy get any shots off. Like put one of our better defenders on her. Like, we was like, you don't give her any room at all. And that somehow translated to give us some room, and then she got hot and
again
screwed us over a little bit.
Oh yeah, her run at the beginning, was it it was first quarter, wasn't it? It was, all in the first quarter. She like hit, what was it, like 3 back-to-back or whatever. I don't know. It just seemed like
she hit like 3 back-to-back threes, and we put the 2 guard. We ended up changing the 2 guards that were guarding her on the court, and then she hit another one. And I'm looking at Jesper like, you need to put someone else on her. Just bring someone on that all they're gonna do is play defense. Like, I don't care, they're gonna score. Like, it's not. Come on, like they've got one job and it's to guard her. But
like,
it worked out. We won. It was fine.
When she gets going, like she's scary, man. Like, you know, like. She can be quiet, but then as soon as she hits one, she literally can shoot whenever, wherever, and it just goes in. Like, she's like scary when she's hot.
You can't rest, and she can create space for herself really well as well. Yeah, Betsy's an amazing shooter.
Yeah.
Like,
talk us through when you tried to guard Sarah on the Riders team, because I saw her going off as well. But
you tried to guard me.
Or anyone on your team?
I was like, I mean, this girl's massive. I was like, I can't guard. I mean, Leicester's difficult. You have to guard everybody, and we are a very undersized team. So, you know, we beat them the week before without Ella, so that's why we won. Not just kidding. But Ella is you know, she's a big body, so you know we were happy not to have her there. But we did think we could win the game. You know, it didn't start off very well. You guys scout really, really well, and throughout the game. Like, for example, with Betsy going off, you know, you changed what you did. And I don't think she scored. I think she scored one more point in the second half or something like that. So yeah, they gave us a hard time. They're very long. We like to get to the basket, a lot of us, which wasn't easy to do. Leicester like to do this kind of zone kind of defense and keep the big guys in the middle and protect everything and switch. And so it was a difficult game. And to be fair, the way we played and how we still scored and how we still stuck through it, and gave ourselves an opportunity to win. I think it was tied with, like, I don't know, was it like a minute, 2 minutes to go? And we were down most of the game. But unfortunately, we didn't win, and we gave everything we had. And, you know, Leicester played a great game. I hope it was a great game to watch.
It looked like a good game. I saw some of it. So I saw the second half. It was a good game. And the Newcastle game. Memories and experiences guarding or going up against Cat Carr.
Easy.
Oh, there we go.
Hold on, Benny. Wait. Let me just FaceTime her. Wait a second. What you say, Benny?
The thing about Kat is that it's not just about stopping her from scoring, so that's why it's so difficult, I think, because yeah, she can score like in bucket loads, but she will rebound, she like can pass the ball really well, so you can't really ever rest. I think that's like the difficult thing. You can't just take one thing away and you're like done. Yeah, I think like for us as like a team, that's a lot goes through her, like on their team and through T. So I think like for me, it's just the fact that she's got so much, like she influences so many areas of the game that makes it difficult to like stop her or even stop her influence.
Yeah, definitely that. You feel like you can feel like you've done a really good job, and on you as well, T. Like you can feel like you've done a real good job, but then actually when you look back at the stats, she might not have scored a lot, but actually she'll leave the game with 8 assists and so. Yeah, so it's just like you can't let up, because then if you let up, then she's going to score 20 points. So it's tough. She's a tough person to guard, but I always find it challenging, and it's always, that's fun, isn't it? That's what basketball's about. Not playing against someone you can dominate. Like that's just, what's the point?
It's true.
And you'll think she's taking a play off, like you'll think she's just chilling on the wing, and then all of a sudden she just decides she's not chilling anymore. And I'm like, why?
Anyone else?
I mean, all the teams I've been on, we found it hard to decide who's going to mark her. You know, she's big, she passes, she rebounds, she scores. You know, she defends. So she's an unbelievable player. Definitely one of the best WBB I'll have had. And it's exciting to see her play as well. I mean, like, you know, which this year, did she get a few triple doubles this year? Or maybe last year, which is crazy. Doesn't happen often in our league. So, you know, seeing her do things like that is great. And she's a great person too. She always gives me jokes on and off the court to go with how well she is as a player. Yeah, definitely one of the best for sure.
What about you, Ella? She's mentioned going up against Leicester quite a few times. I said that's...
We love playing Leicester.
All right, let's talk about this little rivalry here as well. Leicester and Suns.
I mean, I'm never tasked with guarding either one of like T or Cat, so I'm fine with the way I'm playing them.
We just see Ella in the lane like this, me and Cat like, yeah, that's probably a pull-up situation. Yeah,
that's why I like it when you guys like caught something and I'll give you a little bump and I'm like, okay guys, chase off them again. But other than that, like, yeah, I completely agree with what everyone said in terms of especially how she just kind of runs the court as well. Like she doesn't even need to touch the ball in an offense and she can make plays happen just by the way she leads. Like I remember watching her in the cup final this year in Birmingham and she was like and everything, like telling people literally what to guard.
Yeah, I just think she obviously I've played with her a long time, but she thinks ahead. So it could be a case where, you know, we'll look at each other and because we played so long, I could look at her and know like, okay, she's gonna be here or like this person is open. But she just always thinking a play ahead, or always, and she's very smart. So I guard her in practice, and we have like epic battles. It's like I'm playing against someone I don't know, but that's how we make each other better. She pushes me, I push her. And yeah, what you see is what you get with her. She won't sugarcoat it. She'll be the first person to tell you like, okay, you need to get it together, but she's also your biggest supporter. So I think that's what helps our team a lot. So,
I like that. Shout out, female player. Do you know of her? I would like you to give us your perspective on her. But she's a player I looked up to as well. And when she first came to Brixton, what's one of your perspectives on a legend by the name of Roslyn Mason? And if you remember her, give us your perspective, your first impressions of seeing her play, or if you played against her.
She played for Sheffield for 1 year.
Okay.
Did.
Talk us through that.
That was a good season. I mean, she was kind of toward the end of her career when she came to Sheffield. But for me, she kind of took me under a wing and was always the one in my ear in practice. Again, just such a high IQ and a competitor through and through, really. And I think that was kind of the biggest thing that I took away from her, was always trying to compete no matter who you're up against. Or like you say, whether you've got any mismatches or whatever, you couldn't ever fault her kind of work ethic. But yeah, it was definitely, would rather have her on my team than be against her.
yeah, she's just a competitor. Like, I can remember playing against her. I think she was at Seven Oaks 1 year. Is my earliest memory, but yeah, she just competes. She knows the game. She knows where her spots is to score on the floor. She gets there with ease. She can defend. Just can play. I think that was the first time where I was like, oh, okay, they do actually play basketball in England, because before it was, no offense. I was just like, oh, okay. And her game, I think, was similar to girls I had seen at home. She's strong. Yeah. She has an all-around game. Like, an all-around game. Really, really good.
She was really strong. I remember around her in camp one time, and she pushed me out of the way. Put me in the way. I was like, yo, man, what's this, man? Anyone else have any memories?
I remember. I remember. I went to watch like a GB game. You get like free tickets when you're a kid and stuff. And I just remember the ball got wedged in it, and she jumped and just flicked it out. And my jaw dropped. I was like, what? But I'd never seen anything like that. I was just like, yo, I want to do that. Obviously, we didn't get there, but that's another story. But I was just like, she's an athlete. I don't know if I played against her, but I just remember thinking, she's something serious, man. Yeah.
But she worked hard. Like, we'd finish practice. Well, she'd be like the first one there at practice, and we'd finish practice, and then she'd get a jump rope out, and we're all like dying on the floor, and she'd be like, "Oh, I need to get a bit of extra conditioning in." I'm like, "No, you don't. You just get killed with all practice, and now you're going to do extra." But that's what made her kind of be able to have a career and for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. She just approaches everything with such a professional mindset. That's what I always remember about her. I think she is like one of the players that is the least talked about, that should be talked about more, if that makes sense. I don't want to say underrated, because everyone knows how amazing she is. But people don't talk about her enough. Like, I played in her conference, not at the same time, when I was in the States, and I remember walking into Manhattan's gym and seeing her name on the 1,000 point scorers, but she had over 2,000 points in college. She's just nasty. She's sick, and I feel like people just don't really talk about her. And it's she's one of the most accomplished GB players ever, and in the countries that she's played in, she's just amazing. And I just remember she has that professional attitude towards everything. I think when I was little, I'd gone to, I think I must have been 19, to a women's GB camp with your dad, and she was there, and I remembered I get on well with Roz now, but then you're a little kid, aren't you? And we were in college, but you're oh my god, Roz, and She was just the nicest. Like she always kind of marched to her own tune. She got along with everyone. She likes to do her own thing, and she had her own approach to things. And I just remember thinking how like awesome she was, just to have her own singular approach to everything, and how professional like that approach was towards every part of her game, like her body, her health, not just like her skills and stuff.
Yeah, I do remember my first impressions of her. This is going way back now when I was like, I think I met when I was like 10 years old. She was starting out, so she had that approach from a long time now. And I first met her, and when don't say anything like this, but she had a high top. The first time I met her, the high top, and the hair was short. She's gonna kill me for this, but yeah, I remember that she had that approach. She had this thing as well where she just knew how to make you have this thing to give you confidence. Very infectious with giving you so much confidence on and off the court. So if you felt like you couldn't play, she would let you know like you get better. So shout out to Rosin. And she was one of the first ladies to step on the court in that madness. That was historic. I had never seen that.
I bet she held her own.
They held her own.
I bet she.
Yeah, the dudes could. There were some dudes that just didn't want to. Yeah, she held her own, man. That was like very historic for me. But yeah, and when she went off to do big things, it was such a blessing to see that because I played from such a young age. Shout out to Roslyn. Before I give her a shout out. So I want to make this a bit fun now. So tell us a embarrassing moment happening to you guys in the WBBL.
Embarrassing moments.
A funny moment. I see Nicolette grinning from ear to ear.
I'm trying to think.
Embarrassing.
I think embarrassing, yeah.
What about when you got that technical Rihanna?
That's normal.
Yeah, it's normal any day, any.
Yeah, normal.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
I mean, my most embarrassing is, again, quite typical for me. I got injured playing against Manchester. I'm sure that was once it was in WBBL. But the whole game had to stop while I had to lay on the court and wait for an ambulance and a stretcher. So, yeah, that was my most embarrassing because I wasn't really with it, but all I could hear was people like moaning about when the game was going to start. And I was just laid out cold in the middle of the court. Yeah. Waiting for the Blues and Twos to come and take me, and I spent 3 days in Salford Hospital in Manchester recovering, all because was it you, Nick? No, you weren't there at the time. I'd got basically headbutted by someone and just out cold.
But no, it was that foreigner they had that year. The girl from, I don't remember what country she was from.
I just know she had a hard head, and the court was hard too. So, but yeah. And the thing is I'm only embarrassed because I hear afterwards like the stories of the doctors telling me to touch my nose and me getting nowhere near my face and things, but I wasn't really with it. But I can imagine that was quite embarrassing. But yeah, near me getting injured, what a surprise.
Anyone else?
No.
I remember a funny, memorable moment that happened in the league. Since you've been in the league?
Oh, there's got to be some, surely.
Something, isn't it?
Every game's funny, isn't it? Every game's fun. It's always something that's probably funny in every game.
Maybe because it involved you in it.
So, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I think every game against you is good fun. Like I always have a laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Give us one, Siobhan, of Bailey.
Rianne?
Yeah.
I don't know, I just like generally it's quite funny. Like I feel like that sounds bad, but like I feel like we go hard and it's like a real battle, but like I love it. Do you know what I mean? Like I love it. Like I just love going hard against her, and then like like turning around and like, and then like next minute it's like
I don't know. I don't know. Just the whole league's funny, innit? I don't know what to say. I'm going to let you know, innit? I'm on 4% battery, and I left my charger at the job in this household. So,
Okay.
yeah, I got to go.
All right, then go into question. Where is it? So talk us through. So someone mentioned the refs. So we'll talk about the league itself. So give us like your perspective of the league, the refs. I know someone mentioned. Don't tell me about the refs though. Give us all your perspective on how the refs.
Benny should go first because she's the ref's favorite player. So
I know how hard it is to ref a game. I actually do have a level 2 referee qualification.
really,
I really enjoy reffing, and I think a lot of refs haven't played at a high level, so they don't know the feel of the game. And I also think a lot of refs, I don't know what it is, but like a reaction, they become defensive, even if the reaction isn't at them. And I find that really difficult. So if I react and then you tell me to quieten down, I'm going to get louder. And you can give me a technical or whatever, but I'm going to let you know that you are not managing the game correctly. Like, their reaction, like don't tell me I'm not allowed to react when I go to BBL games and I hear them effing and blinding.
Yeah.
But I can't sigh. Do you know what I mean? I can't laugh. Actually, I laugh and you eject me out of a game. Okay, yeah. So that's how I feel about refs, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just what?
The older referee, like the more experienced referees, like I enjoy the games with them. The ones that, because I feel like the older referees make an effort to know you, like off the court, and they'll talk to you. And so when they're on the court, like sometimes, like, I'm the same as Rianne. Like if I lose, like, am I allowed to swear? Like if I lose my stuff, I lose my stuff. So, but sometimes it can be like one of the older referees will literally just be like, just like take a minute, calm down. That is all it takes, because they build that relationship with you off the court. I think like with newer referees, I do agree with Rianne. Like sometimes I feel like there's this sort of, and it's probably our fault as well, because we don't trust a referee until we've seen them referee a long time. So maybe they feel a little bit defensive as well. But there's not the same sort of like rapport, I don't think.
I just feel like the younger ones, I think they feel like it's their job to prove themselves, and like that's what I think. If you say one thing to them, they're just like, no, I'm going to assert my authority here because this is my like second WBL game ever, and I'm showing you I'm not going to take anything from you. And it's just like, well, that was the wrong call though. Just take it on the chin.
Yeah, the best referees are definitely the ones who will have a conversation.
Yeah.
Like if you ask why a call is made, sometimes you're actually asking. Like you're not trying to be funny, you actually want the answer. And then when they just walk away and ignore you, I'm like, no, that was
but they do that because they don't know.
I find it hard.
They can't admit it.
I find it hard because I'm a stronger guard. So, for instance, if I'm going to the basket, if Nick fouled me, they're like, you should be able to take it. I'm like, but if I foul her, it's going to be a foul, right? And so the excuse I always get is like, oh, she didn't, like, you know, your shot wasn't really struck. I'm like, but it's a foul. And so I hate when I get BS answers back, because then that makes me upset. And then I just go get a foul for no reason. I go foul to prove a point. And then Len gets upset. And, you know, it's just like, it's just
about, imagine being a big person in the league.
I'm 6'5".
You get hacked. You get hacked, and they didn't call anything. And you go down there and you give them like a hip bump, like off the ball, and they're like foul. And you're like,
I just think it's inconsistent as a player. You don't know like how to kind of gauge the game. Like if I'm as a player, I'm like, okay, this is how they're calling the game. And if they're consistent with that, then I can adjust my game. But if I get away with it here and you've allowed it to go on, and then all of a sudden you're like, no, we're going to do it this way, that's kind of hard to adjust, and it messes up the flow of the game sometimes.
Yeah, and I feel like that goes along with what Rianne was saying, because like I like to play like physical, and I know like if you were refereeing the BBL, there is so many things that they allow in that we're not allowed to do, and it's really frustrating because I would much rather a ref like blow less and let us like go at it and let us enjoy the game and be consistent with it. But then you get some referees that let you do that, and then you get some referees that you like can't even touch anyone, and it's like a foul. Like I just wish it was the same for like the men's and women's game.
like one point we were in the final, one of the finals at the O2, and the guy, I was asking him about a call, and he was like, he said something along the lines like, "You guys want to be able to play, right?" And I didn't know how to respond to that because I'm like, "What do you mean? Are you reffing us based off us being females and them being guys, or are you reffing basketball players?" Because then we could talk, but I don't know what you mean by letting us play. I'm like, I don't really, so we just sat there in a staring match because I'm like, I don't get what what you want me to say to that. So,
do you feel at times that they ref the games different to how they would ref the BBL games sometimes?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But also, don't the BBL have 3 refs and we're still stuck with 2? Like the rest of Europe, like they have 3 refs, or like international games all with 3 refs, and we're stuck with 2.
Yeah.
So do Division 1 men. Division 1 men have 3 refs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
So Division 1 men have 3 refs, and you guys still have 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different approach. So what is that something you'd like to see more though in a WBBL game, like 3 refs in the WBBL game as opposed to 2?
Yeah, because we get them at finals, don't we? They put 3 on finals.
Yeah.
And it does just mean there's so much more to see, and equally, it normally means there's 2 more experienced refs. So they have those conversations about the direction which the game's going. And the more experienced refs, it's like we were saying earlier, the ones that have been around the game longer, I feel, don't let the score influence how they referee either. Whereas the younger ones, if they have a preconceived idea of how a closer game should be, or whatever, and I feel like they always feel like they need to even out the foul count. Well, no, because if the other team's fouling more, they should get more. You don't need to try and even it out in second half just because you've looked at the score sheet at half time. And I mean, like I say, I don't referee, unlike Rianne, and I would never referee. So I find it hard to criticise. But when you're in the game, not knowing what they're going to call from quarter to quarter, let alone week to week, can make it hard to adjust. And like, particularly if you're a more physical player who is going to deliberately commit some fouls along the way, you've not got a lot left to play with.
Yeah, sure.
All right. And like I said again, did you feel as well they approach the game different to BBL games? Some of them.
I mean, I know that this is like something that I actually heard with my own ears, like at one of the regional development tournaments, with, where they play like East Midlands, West Midlands, London, or that it's the younger ones, like where you represent your region, and they use it to like help younger referees practice. And I have physically heard a referee get annoyed because they were put on the final of the girls and they hadn't had the men's yet, and literally ask, like, why are you putting me on all the girls' games? Is it because you don't think I'm as good a referee? And it's like, it's a culture that needs changing. Like, there's no difference between like the BBL and the WBBL.
Yeah.
Like, there is no difference. Like, if you look at most setups of most teams, they have better social media. It might look a bit different, but there isn't. Like, there isn't a difference, and we shouldn't be treated any differently. And that sort of mindset, it has to change. That you don't just ref women's games to get to the men's games. That's not how it should be.
Out of interest, do they get? I don't know the answer to this. Do they get paid more for doing men's games than women's games, or is it the same?
So
know that wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know that. But I wouldn't surprise.
I don't know.
I would assume it'd be the same, but it's across 3 people, so they all get. Do you know what I mean? So technically, the referee budget is bigger. This is my opinion. I don't know if it's right. This is what I assume is what's going on, but I don't know.
I think it's a bit biased too when you go to certain teams and you get the same type of refs. Like if, for instance, like no disrespect, but when we come up to like Sheffield, it's pretty much the same ref. So we walk in the gym like, oh, here we go. Like
that's because we live in the middle of nowhere. There's no. It's because we live in the middle of nowhere. We haven't got the
like,
to go steal refs from.
Right. It's always the same like kind of ref. So we're like, okay, me and Kat just kind of look at each other like, okay, it's gonna be one of those games. Just got to get through it. And I think that sucks. Like, you shouldn't go to a game and see a ref and think, okay, this might be a hard one, or I don't know what game they're gonna call today. I just think
we always say the same up in the northeast, like Newcastle, Northumbria, or whatever, because again, I think they have the same problem. There's kind of, short of pulling refs down from Scotland or whatever, you get the same people. because we often have the same reaction, and it's hard because and I think that is kind of a guilty conscience like thing on our part, that we do kind of have that mindset before we go into a game. So the first call they make that's questionable, you're at them or whatever. But I do definitely think, and I don't know whether it's because people aren't willing to travel as far to do women's games. I don't know what it is, but you do always see the same faces, and then sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not.
I think that the further they travel, the more expensive it is for the club. So the club tries to get people from closer because then the travel expenses aren't as much.
Yeah.
They should respect the women's game a bit more, because obviously the women, in terms of achievement, they've achieved more than the men. Like, you girls have just won the English women, especially, won a silver medal. The men didn't come back with a medal at all in the Commonwealth Games. So I do think there is that. And also, something that came to mind as well, in terms of jerseys, I always said to myself, do you guys think it's anything wrong with a male or boy wearing a female basketball jersey? Like, what's your views on that? Because me personally, I don't see the problem with it. If a woman can wear a men's basketball jersey, why can't the men wear a woman's basketball jersey? Even just for fashion, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I mean, at home, I feel like guys wear female jersey all the time. Like, for, like, we have a lot of fans, and obviously the sport's bigger in the States, so you would see guys wearing female jersey. I don't really notice people. I mean, it's not like we sell our merchandise, anything like that. Like, you don't have stuff like that for sale, but I don't really see it like that here.
So, like, you can compare the riders stuff. So, obviously, the riders men, we have the exact same jerseys. Obviously, the fit's slightly different, I hope, but they all sell their stuff at their games. So, like, in terms of selling merchandise, like, it's not even an option to sell women's merchandise. I know you can get people's names printed on the back, but it's always the men's stuff that's always promoted. And with riders, it's comparable because there's a men's and a women's team, and we have the exact same kit, same colours, but it's always the men's stuff that's like sold, and there's never a women's option. Which, I mean, I know there's probably no demand for it, but I'm not sure if that's what you're getting at.
But again, like, particularly for young girls coming up, if you go to watch a Riders game with your parents and your brother or whatever, you're going to pick one of the men's shirts because that's all that's on offer. Whereas actually, the role models are the senior women's players. So to have that option, again, it comes back to infrastructure, doesn't it? To have the funds to be able to create the merchandise. Like, we don't have merchandise other than T-shirts or whatever. We don't have jerseys to spare and things. But I do think it'd be a good thing for encouraging the next lot of females.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else got their views? Nicola, what about your views on that?
I mean, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, in a sense, if I think about Durham, I think, maybe also a part of that is doing a better job in getting people to games and how we promote games so that we can do things like that. I know at Durham, we also don't have barely any fans come to games. We don't do much to promote our games. So in terms of getting things like that, I can see why that doesn't happen with us, but I do believe that there are a lot of teams that can do things like that. I mean, I know with the GB women, they never sold jerseys, and this year they started selling jerseys, and they sold really well. A lot of little kids getting jerseys with our names on it. Things like that. If it's there, like, if it's not there, how are we supposed to know if people will get it or not? It's not acceptable to only have it for the men and not for the women too. But yeah, no, it's not acceptable. So it has to be an option. If you only have the option, then you can only go for the men. So it needs something that needs to be done. But I think there's a lot of things that we need to do better also as well.
Definitely, which is one of the reasons for this roundtable. So it definitely.
Can I add one thing, Chris? Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, about the whole thing about men wearing women's jerseys. I genuinely believe that for things to change, like, that's what needs to happen. It's all right us banging on about how good, like, women's sport is. Like, women's sport is great, like, watch women's sport. But we're the woman in the room always moaning about women's rights, or always moaning about, can we get this? Can we get this? And I think it really changes things if males step up and start supporting the women's game as well. If you're wearing a female jersey and you're walking around and a fan stops you, like that gives us exposure. You're supporting it, and I feel like, you know, we should work together as BBL and WBBL to. I mean, I need to do better with this as well because I don't really watch BBL that much. But I feel like especially they should step up for us, and like men supporting women is a louder voice than women supporting women.
Yeah,
definitely agree with that. Like Jimmy Rogers said, you are not women who play basketball. You are basketball players who happen to be women. So that's the statement I've taken from Jimmy Rogers from when I was young. So when I heard him say it to the female team. So, but women, that time, I appreciate you guys giving me a time. I had a feeling this would go long expected. It's been I've enjoyed this one. So hopefully this will be coming out soon. So girls, again, appreciate your time. Thank you guys for the WBB roundtable. We'll be publishing this soon, and I hope you guys girls are well.
All right, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, Chris.
Yeah.
No worries.
Appreciate it.
No worries.
Bye,
Guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
What? No theme music, nah?
Gusto, now Chris the host. Man, I make a little dinner while passing joke. Come to the yard, get it off your chest. There's no hard feelings when you're rocking with the best. Everything's crisp, everything's nice. Throw a little sugar, add a little spice. Ask all questions, cook a little rice. Gamble like Vegas and throw a little dice.
Raise a glass and make a toast. Drop by Chris for a Sunday roast. Or 8 taste of his mixology. Get twisted and not off the Hennessy. Now your belly's full, play a game of ball. Gusto, he's coming from the old school. No if buts, maybes, whys. No silly questions, I tell no lies.
Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris.